All Things Mavs.
And they'll reset. Nowitzki again for the lead.
Mavs fans, what's going on? Welcome into the All Things Mavs podcast. With you as always, I am your host, Jimmy Crowther, breaking down all the latest and greatest news and rumors going around Mavs Nation. Now look, if you're not following me on Twitter yet, you know where to find me. All Things Mavs on Twitter at Jimmy_Crowther. And make sure you check out Chat Sports on YouTube, where I am doing daily NBA shows. You're not going to want to miss that. But today's all about the Mavs. That's what all these All Things Mavs podcasts are about. And today, I just want to talk about two things. We're going to go through two quick segments. Number one, I'm going to do the NBA power rankings. And they're not going to be my power rankings. I'm going to do my power rankings a little bit later down the road when I think all the moves are done. I don't think they're done yet. I think Chris Paul is still kind of up in the air, so I definitely want to wait on and see what happens with him. Not that old washed-up CP3 is going to move the needle much for anybody anymore. I am not a CP3 fan, to say the least. Not a Chris Paul fan whatsoever. One segment I'm going to do is probably the five guys I dislike the most in the NBA. And Chris Paul is definitely near the top of that list. But anyway, not what we're talking about today. I'm going to do the NBA power rankings. But I'm going to go through ESPN's power rankings because they came out early this morning. So early Monday morning. Recording this on Monday night. And I want to go through them, kind of talk about. I haven't even looked at them, really. I've skimmed through them. I've seen where everybody's landed, but I kind of want to look through them and react with you guys about where Dallas stands, who should be higher, who should be lower, this, that, and the other. And then another sort of rankings I want to start to go through. NBA 2K released some of their ratings earlier tonight. Now, by the time you're listening to this, maybe some more have come out, but right now it looks like they only have the top 20 players released their ratings. They have the top rookies released. Spoiler alert, Isaiah Roby is not within the top 5 rookies. They have the top 5 three-point shooters, and then they have the top overall dynamic duos. So basically like the best duos in the league, they gave them like an average rating, and they released those top 4, it looks like. So I'm going to go through those. We're going to look at, should a couple of Mavs have been higher? Should a couple of Mavs have been lower? Or I guess not, lower, teaser. None of them made this list, but we're going to talk about it. So that's what we're going to get into today on the All Things Mavs podcast. Thank you guys for listening and tuning in. If you're on wherever you're listening to this, please subscribe. Helps out the podcast a ton. If you subscribe, if you rate this podcast on Apple Podcast and go leave it like a like or comment on YouTube. But on Apple Podcast, here's something I want to do. If I get enough people that leave me reviews, if you kind of comment, leave a 5-star review or however many stars, I guess, and then ask a question in the review, I think I'm going to do a Q&A. I'll also do that if you ask enough questions on the YouTube channel in the comment section, but doing it on Apple Podcast would help me out a ton. So if we could get that going, maybe I'll do a Q&A on a podcast pretty soon here from questions from you guys, which is definitely something I want to do, is be interactive with y'all as much as possible here on the All Things Mavs podcast. So let's get into it. The NBA power rankings, we're going to go 30 up to 1 because you never want to start with the top team. Top 30 NBA power rankings, ESPN. Number 30, Cleveland Cavaliers. Number 29, Charlotte Hornets, followed by the New York Knicks at 28. Now, first problem I have with these bottom 3. I think the Cavs should be above the Hornets. I think the Hornets are going to be absolutely miserably bad. Like, so freaking bad. They probably had, actually not probably, they had the worst offseason of anybody. They signed Terry Rozier to a ridiculous contract. The only thing scary about Scary Terry is the money that he's getting paid. They let Kemba Walker walk, no pun intended, for about the same money that they were going to pay, that they're paying Terry Rozier per year anyway. They lowballed Kemba Walker, their franchise point guard. And do I think they should have let him walk? Yes. But they should have just straight up said, hey, we're not going to offer you anything, rather than just give him like a discounted offer. That's just like disrespectful. I thought it was a horrible offseason. PJ Washington, I liked the pick, and then he got hurt. He's already hurt again. So bad offseason for the Hornets, but I think they should be at 30. The ESPN has them at 29, which, whatever, 29, 30 doesn't really matter. Cleveland's not going to be good. Kevin Love, if he's healthy, may make things interesting, but they say they're not looking to trade him right now. But Houston also said they weren't looking to trade Chris Paul. and he's now a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder for however long that's going to last. So 29, 30, Charlotte, and Cleveland. 28, the New York Knicks. Now, Knicks didn't have a terrible offseason. They had a really bad offseason. I wouldn't, I think they signed a bunch of good quality players. They just overpaid for all of them. They have, I've said this on Chat Sports, they have the best bench in the NBA. They just don't have anything else other than a bunch of bench players. That's what they have. I love Julius Randle. I loved RJ Barrett. I love that pick. Obviously, he didn't do great in Summer League, but, just bad offseason for the Knicks. So then they're in there at 28. Above them is the Washington Wizards at 27. I would have the Knicks above the Wizards for sure. The Wizards are going to be really bad. Bradley Beal, I hope you get out of there, man. If you need to come to Dallas, we'll send Courtney Lee and Tim Hardaway Jr. to Washington for Bradley Beal. They'll hang up the phone the minute they hear Courtney Lee come out of our mouths. So, 26, the Memphis Grizzlies. I am not looking forward to playing Memphis, the Southwest Division in the future, because Jaren Jackson Jr. is incredible. Ja Morant, I think, is going to be incredible. There's people that think he's going to be a bust because he's too skinny. You're stupid if you think he's going to be a bust. He's not. He's going to be an incredible player. He is an incredible talent. Jaren Jackson Jr. is an incredible talent. I loved that they re-signed Jonas Valanciunas, even though I would have loved for him to come to Dallas. I think he's a quality young center, and I think they got him at a bargain, personally. At a bargain because he opted out of a contract, and they paid him less. So, good for them. They traded for Josh Jackson. Didn't like that move because Josh Jackson is a bona fide scrub on and off the court. I think he's a horrible person off the court. So he just is. The record speaks for itself. So that's Memphis at 26. At 25, the Phoenix Suns. Now, I'm not going to lie. Phoenix Suns are already Dallas's kryptonite. For some reason, whenever we play the Phoenix Suns, it's like the Mavs forgot how to play basketball, or Rick Carlisle forgot how to coach, or something just goes incredibly wrong. Now, I remember the end of last season, we won at home because I was there. I was at that game, and it was like the game where Kelly Oubre slapped the floor and Luka went down and scored on him. That was funny. But, man, for some reason, the Phoenix Suns are just our kryptonite. But they did get better, which is even scarier for us. That's not, a but good kind of thing. So, they added Ricky Rubio. They added Dario Saric. And the only guys they lost were Josh Jackson and TJ Warren. Now, TJ Warren was really good for them, but, they got Saric back. They also drafted Cam Johnson, who I like, but I don't like him enough to take him at, what did they take him at, 11? It's a little high. Ty Jerome, I think, was a good backup point guard pickup. I think they overpaid for Ricky Rubio personally, but I guess he kind of had to. And then they got Kelly Oubre Jr. back for $10 million a year? No, $15 million a year. $15 million a year, which I know Mavs fans really wanted Kelly Oubre near the end because they thought he was going to be a bargain. But $15 million per year for Kelly Oubre is too much for my liking, and he is not a Rick Carlisle guy. Rick Carlisle would not like Kelly Oubre. He can't shoot. He can shoot, but he's really streaky. Kelly Oubre, fun idea, never was going to happen in Dallas. 24, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Now, for those of you who don't know, I go to school up in Oklahoma. I'm an Oklahoma State Cowboy. And everybody up in Oklahoma worships the Oklahoma City Thunder. I also haven't done a podcast since Russell Westbrook got dumped. He's with the Rockets now, of course, which we'll get into here in a minute. But, look, the Thunder, they added Chris Paul, but for how long? They added Danilo Gallinari for 1 year. I don't think they'll end up trading him, maybe a trade deadline kind of thing. They added Shai Gilgeous, who I actually really, really like. I think he's going to be a nice key piece for them in the future, for sure. But not enough, So that's the Thunder. They're right where they should be. Bottom third of the league. Number 24. If they end up dumping some of these guys, maybe you could argue they're even lower. But I think they want to lose as many games as possible. I mean, why wouldn't you if you're Oklahoma City? So, yeah, dark days in OKC. We'll see where they end up. But that's where ESPN has them in at 24. 23, right above them, is Chicago Bulls. I think Lauri Markkanen will be a most improved player candidate. And for everyone that keeps saying, hey, Lauri Markkanen should come to Dallas. Yeah, he should, but we'd have to give up like Luka. So do you really want to do that? Didn't think so. Atlanta Hawks in at 22. Good old Trae Young can't carry the Hawks up to a higher seed, I guess. Not that Dallas is much higher, but still, I love to talk crap on Trae Young. Look, I have nothing against Trae Young, the NBA player. I really don't. I actually love watching him. I think he's a great NBA player. It's the fact that he went to OU that I really have something out for him. He went to OU, guys. I'm at Oklahoma State. If you can't draw the lines or connect the dots there, then go watch some college basketball or college sports in general. You'll know that those two teams, those two schools do not like each other. But anyway, that's the Hawks in at 22. Look, they're going to be really good. I actually think they have a chance to make a push for the Eastern Conference playoffs. But a lot of things would have to go right, and I just don't think they will. You roll out a lineup of, this is just off the top of my head, I don't know what their starting five is going to look like, but you go Trae Young, Cam Reddish. Shout out to Rashad Phillips for calling Cam Reddish Randy Moss. That guy's such a bum. He blocked me on Twitter, and because I was like, your takes are stupid or something that was actually rational, and he blocked me. If you don't know Rashad Phillips on Twitter, you should just not go to his page because you might lose brain cells. But Trae Young, this is the lineup for the Hawks, by the way. Trae Young, Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins. Those are your four in there for sure. Maybe you start Collins at the center, but I think they want him to be a power forward, so you start Alex Len, who actually had a decent year for him. I think that's pretty good. I like Atlanta. I like what they have. I like what they built. And for some reason, they're kind of becoming our rival, which is really funny, just because of the whole Trae Young versus Luka kind of thing. But fun team. I'm excited to watch them next year. 21, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, a lot of people were scared that the Timberwolves were that was some good pronunciation there, wasn't it? The Minnesota Timberwolves were going to make some big moves this summer. And had they made some bigger moves than they did, they'd probably be a threat to beat Dallas out for one of those top 8 spots. But they really didn't, they made some really lateral moves. They didn't really do anything great. They lost Derrick Rose, who was actually a key piece for them last year. I know they couldn't afford to keep him, but they just kind of let him walk, which surprised me. 18 points per game. That's a big chunk of points that you're losing there. Now, they drafted really well. I love the Jarrett Culver pick. He can run your point guard position if you really want him to, even though that's probably not what they want him to do. But you put him at the 2. I like Culver a lot. They added Jordan Bell, which, Jordan Bell last year was not good, but I guess you could start him next to Karl Anthony Towns and you run a athletic kind of front court. And then they added Noah Vonleh, who I actually like as well. But they lost Derrick Rose, they lost Taj Gibson, and they lost Dario Saric. Strange offseason for the Timberwolves. They thought they were getting D'Angelo Russell, and they didn't. So now, what's your starting 5 up there in Minnesota? It's Jeff Teague, Jarrett Culver, Andrew Wiggins, who, look, Wiggins really isn't terrible. Like, he's really not a bad player, but it's just the fact that he's getting paid so much money and the fact that he doesn't play defense. Like, he looks just uninterested on the court. But he scores like 18 points per game. It's just inefficient. So I think Wiggins needs to change the scenery, and he'll do pretty well on another team. I mentioned him as a salary dump for the Mavs on the last podcast, but I mentioned it as like a very unlikely possibility and something that we really wouldn't want to see anyway. That's the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're sitting there at 21. They're just kind of Karl Anthony Towns is great, but other than that, their whole roster is just meh. That's the best way I can explain it. Okay, we're into the top 20. And in at number 20, it is the Sacramento Kings. So you still haven't heard the Dallas Mavericks, but now you're hearing the Sacramento Kings, who did make some moves this summer. I just didn't love what Sacramento did. Their young core is great in Fox, Bagley, and Hield. They kept Harrison Barnes for a lot of money. More than I think anybody really would have wanted to pay him, but 4 years, $85 million, good for HB. I'll always kind of cheer for him. Now they let Willie Cauley-Stein walk. I don't think they're really interested in keeping him whatsoever, and they got Dwayne Dedmon in return on a 3-year, $40 million deal, which is way too much money for Dwayne Dedmon. He is a stretch 5. I get that, but that's a ton of freaking money, man. Trevor Ariza and Corey Joseph they added as well. Trevor Ariza has like nothing left in the tank. I mean, the dude is not good anymore. And they paid him too much money. I didn't like that move. I think, I get it. Add some depth, whatever. It was like okay, congrats, Kings. You got Trevor Ariza. Nobody else wanted him. And they signed Corey Joseph. And the way I've seen Corey Joseph explained on Twitter by Pacers fans and by other fans of him is like, oh yeah, I forgot we signed Corey Joseph, but he's actually doing pretty well for us. So I guess that's something, right? So they still have Yogi Ferrell. Now they have Fox, Farrell, Joseph. They let Frank Mason walk, who I actually really like, and would have liked Dallas to take him if they didn't already have 19 point guards on the roster. So that's what the Kings did. Again, they lost Willie Cauley-Stein. They lost Alec Burks, who really wasn't there very long, and they lost Frank Mason. So did they get better? I guess. But did they get good enough to really move them up in the West? I don't think so. Just kind of a meh offseason from the Kings. People expected them to go get a big center. Their big center was Dwayne Dedmon. So congrats, Vlade Divac. 19, the Orlando Magic. I like what they did by signing Al-Farouq Aminu. I actually really like that pickup. I'm a big Aminu fan. Definitely wanted him back in Dallas for the right price. I think he got 3 years, 29. Pretty good deal actually for Aminu. That could be wrong, but whatever it is, they signed him. I like what they did there. I didn't like their draft pick in Chuma Okeke just because at 16, at draft pick number 16, you take a guy with a torn ACL. It's going to be out half the year. I just don't like it. So that's the Orlando Magic. I need to start speeding up through these because we're never going to get to the 2K ratings at this point. So number 18, drum roll please. It's the Dallas Mavericks. Now look, I can't really officially grade this yet because we haven't looked at the ones above them, but 18 feels low to me right now. That's, just what I think right now is that 18 feels a little low. The first team above them is the New Orleans Pelicans at 17. Give me the Mavs over the Pelicans every single day of the week. Look, do I like Zion Williamson? Of course, he's the number 1 pick. He's going to be great. Do I like Drew Holiday? Sure. JJ Redick doesn't really move the needle for me. I think he's got to be in the right role, and I'm just not. I'm not convinced that he's just going to be that 18 point per game scorer again. Derek Favors is good. I love that they got Ingram, Lonzo Ball, and Josh Hart, but they lost Anthony Davis. They lost Julius Randle, and they're going to be relying a lot on Zion. So I think they'll be sellers when it comes to the deadline. The Pelicans will be. I think the Mavs should be above them. So there's one Western Conference team I'd take. I'd take the Mavs. The Mavs I would put below the Mavs. Number 16, the Detroit Pistons. Again, I think the Mavs will have a better record than the Pistons next year. They added Derrick Rose, they added Markieff Morris, they added Tony Snell. They didn't really lose anybody, but injuries hold the Pistons back a lot for sure. Pacers at 15. That feels. I think I'd put the Pacers higher than that. Honestly, I love what the Pacers did with Brogdon, and I love Oladipo. Obviously, they lost Bogdanovich and Darren Collison, but and Thaddeus Young. They kind of lost a lot, I guess. But look, Brogdon's great. I love Oladipo. I love Sabonis, and I love Miles Turner. So that's 15, the Pacers. Number 14, the Miami Heat. I would move the Miami Heat below the Pacers personally, and probably the Mavs. This might come across a little biased, but I hate the Heat. Does that sound biased? I love what they did by drafting Tyler Hero. Look, when they drafted him, I laughed. I thought it was a horrible pick, and I'm eating my words because the guy's killing it in Summer League, and I know it's just Summer League, but still. And, of course, they added Jimmy Butler, and they didn't really lose anybody. In fact, it was addition by subtraction by getting Hassan Whiteside off the books. And then, of course, they had to trade Josh Richardson. And, of course, Dwayne Wade retired, which I'm extremely happy about. San Antonio Spurs at 13. This is way too high. If the Mavs are down at 18, the Spurs should either be down or the Mavs should be up. Because the Spurs, they're not. I'm not convinced that this is going to be a good team this year. I truly believe Dallas could finish above the Spurs. I truly believe the San Antonio Spurs could miss the playoffs this next season. Would not be surprised at all. It's Coach Popovich. I get that. This isn't a good team. It's a very average team, and the duo of LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan is fading. And the duo of Luka Doncic and Porzingis is rising quickly. And I would take our duo over their duo every day of the week. So 13 definitely feels high for me. They lost. They thought they had Marcus Morris. He's gone. They let Davis Bertans go. They basically traded him because they had to for Marcus Morris. He's gone. They added Damari Carroll and Trey Lyles. So I don't know, man. They'll get DeJounte Murray back, who I would love, but not enough for me. So then we get into this top 12, and once you get over this threshold of top 13, or once you get past 13, there's a big step up into number 12 on NBA Power Rankings from ESPN. All right, so number 12, we got the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, they added Kyrie, KD, DeAndre Jordan, which, by the way, have fun with DeAndre Jordan. Brooklyn Nets think they're getting Defensive Player of the Year DeAndre Jordan, and they don't realize they're getting lazy defensive DeAndre Jordan, who's still going to catch lobs, because that's what he's going to do. Brooklyn in at 12. At number 11, the Golden State Warriors. Now, the Golden State Warriors are going to be interesting to watch because they lost two key pieces, obviously Kevin Durant and Andre Iguodala. They lost Cousins, who they only had for 30 games technically. They lost Livingston, who was actually pretty good end times for them. They added Russell, and, who really knows about that fit? They added Cauley Stein, who really knows about him? He's kind of a question mark. Glenn Robinson, not good. Alec Burks, I actually like that pickup. And then they added Shabazz Napier. So what did they do? They didn't get better. In fact, they got a lot worse, if you ask me. They're going to be without Klay Thompson. So there's a chance they miss the playoffs, but it would take a lot. I think they're going to be in the playoffs. I just think 11 might be high for them. I think I'd put Brooklyn over them for now. And then Toronto in at number 10. That's probably a little high, but we'll see. I think Pascal Siakam is going to take a huge step forward next year. Utah in at 9. Look, Utah's got really good this summer, which sucks for Dallas, but they did some really good stuff. Now, they lost a lot of good pieces, but they also added better pieces. So love what Utah did. Portland in at 8. Now, let me say this about Portland. They added, Whiteside, who could be great, who could be terrible. They added Anthony Tolliver, who's not good. He's like, okay, whatever. They added Kent Bazemore, who I like. They just, he's getting overpaid. And they added Mario Hezonja, which I actually like that pickup as well. But you look at what they lost. They lost Evan Turner, who I know he didn't play a whole lot for them near the end, but they lost Evan Turner. They lost Mo Harkless, who became an important piece for them. They lost Al-Farouq Aminu, who became an important piece for them. They lost Enes Kanter, who was important for them near the end. And they lost Seth Curry. Like, the Blazers lost a lot of really good players. Yusuf Nurkic still isn't fully healthy. Portland's not going to miss the playoffs by any means, but are we sure they're going to be, if you look at what they have them right now as, the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th best team in the West? I think I'd have Utah above Portland personally, based on what they did and who they kept. So Utah above Portland for me, but Portland's sitting there at 8. At number 7, the Boston Celtics. Feels about right. I love what Boston did by adding Kimba. Still sad he's not a Maverick, but it's okay. The Lakers in at 6. I don't really want to spend a lot of time on the Lakers, but that's about right. If health is not an issue, they're going to be just great. So good for the Lakers. Clap, clap. Number 5, the Houston Rockets. Now, the Rockets didn't really lose anybody besides Chris Paul. But is that really losing anybody? I don't think so. They obviously added Russell Westbrook and they added Tyson Chandler. And look, things could definitely blow up for the Houston Rockets, but things could also really go just supremely well. If they can't figure out who to have the ball in whose hands, then there's going to be issues. But ultimately, I'm not going to say they're going to be bad because they're not going to be. But there is a chance that things go poorly. There is a chance. So keep that in mind, but they're in at 5 for ESPN right now. Number 4, the Philadelphia 76ers. Not going to spend a ton of time on them. Clippers in at 3. Now, this is where things get interesting because if you're keeping up, there's only one Western Conference team above the Clippers right now in this power rankings. And I think, if you didn't realize by now, it's the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets are in at number 2. Like, ESPN has them as the second best team in their power rankings right now. I get that they're more proven than the Clippers, but they're not better than the Clippers. That's one of the best teams, like deepest teams. They're going to be so good. Denver's going to be great too. I'd probably put them at the second best team in the West. I just can't get comfortable putting them at 2. There's also a chance Denver takes a step back. I know we've said that about Portland. I don't think it's likely, but there's a chance. I think Denver's going to be probably second or third best team in the Western Conference. I've got the Clippers number 1. And then the number 1 team in the East and in the NBA is the Milwaukee Bucks. Currently my pick to win it. I hope they win it. I will always cheer for Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'll hopefully cheer for him to be a Maverick. Just don't think it's ever going to happen. But that is your NBA power rankings from ESPN. We'll go back through it real quick. Number 1, the Bucks. And then 2, Nuggets. 3, Clippers. 4, Sixers. 5, the Rockets. 6, the Los Angeles Lakers. 7, the Celtics. 8, the Trailblazers. 9, the Utah Jazz. Number 10, Toronto Raptors. Number 11, the Golden State Warriors. 12, Nets. 13, Spurs. 14, the Heat. 15, the Pacers. And then bottom half, 16, the Pistons. 17, the Pelicans. 18, your Dallas Mavericks. 19, the Magic. 20, the Kings. 21, the T-Wolves. 22, the Atlanta Hawks. 23, it's the Chicago Bulls, followed by the Thunder, Suns, Grizzlies, Wizards, Knicks, Hornets, and last but not least, or maybe the least of them all, the Cleveland Cavaliers. So that's ESPN's power rankings. Let me know what you disagree with on there because I had quite a few things. Ultimately, I'd probably put Dallas closer to that 13-14 range, maybe 15. I can't get comfortable with them down at 18. I think 15 is probably the best spot for Dallas, right in the middle of the pack. For now, things are going to change. I truly believe that. But for now, I'd have them right about 15. So, right after this, quick commercial break. We're going to get into the NBA 2K20 player ratings that dropped. The top 20, the top shooters, the best dynamic duos, and the top rookies. And I'll tell you a little bit more here in just a second. All right. 2K's ratings. Let's get into them. Debate, talk about what's wrong with them because they're never perfect, right? But start with number 1 because it just gets, obvious, and we'll go down to the less obvious. But number 1, LeBron James, 97 overall. Sounds about right. Kawhi, number 2. Giannis, number 3. Now, if that top 3, Giannis is a 96. Kawhi and LeBron are both tied at 97. You can make the argument that Giannis should be 97 because he is the MVP, but not a huge deal. Kevin Durant, 96, despite the injury. James Harden, 96. Steph Curry, 96. So that's your top 6. Number 7, Anthony Davis. First 2-point differential here. Anthony Davis was a 94 overall in NBA 2K20. Paul George, a 93. Damian Lillard, a 92. Joel Embiid, 91. So that's your top 10. Kyrie Irving's also 91, so I guess he's tied for top 10. Nikola Jokic in as a 90, so huge step up for Nikola Jokic. I hate playing with him on 2K, by the way. I love 2K, so if anybody ever wants to play me in 2K, you can try, but you're going to fail. Russ is a 90 overall. Yeah, I'd say it's about right. He can't shoot, but everything else in 2K he's great at, so he's a 90 overall. Klay Thompson is an 89. Karl-Anthony Towns is an 89. And now this is where things start to get interesting. Because now I think starting to get into some players that you can make the argument maybe Luka should be up there with. Because Jimmy Butler's an 88. Kemba Walker's an 88. Donovan Mitchell is an 88. Rudy Gobert is an 88. And Blake Griffin is an 88. Now those are all great players. But if you're asking me who I think is the better player, who I'd rather have on my team. And I know it's 2K rating, so it's a little different. But if we're going based on 2K ratings, if Mitchell and Gobert are both 88s, I think Luka's got to be an 88. At least, I think he was an 87 to finish last season in 2K19. So either Mitchell and Gobert got to be lower or Luka's got to be higher, because 88 overall is what Luka should be. I think he's going to end up as an 87 because that's what he finished at last year, and he's not going to get worse. So, I think 2K might have messed that up at 88 overall. So either these guys need to be lower or Luka's got to be higher. So we'll see, but they don't have him in the top 20. They don't have him as an 88 because that was the 20 guys. So obviously he's lower than an 88 unless they surprise us all and release more 88s. But yeah, so Luka Doncic not in the top 20 on 2K. Can make the argument, but I think he needs to be up there. So top 5 rookies, Zion is an 81, John Morant's a 79. I think Luka came in as a 79 last season. So Zion higher than him, take that as you will. I think he'll finish lower. Not lower than an 81, but he'll finish lower than Luka finished as a rookie. I think Zion finishes around an 84, 85 in 2K. John Morant, 79. RJ Barrett's a 78. DeAndre Hunter, 77. And Darius Garland, 77. I think Garland's a little low there, or a little high there at 77. I think Culver needs to be above Darius Garland. But that's your top 5 rookies. Now, top 5 shooters. I got a bone to pick here. Because Steph is a 99, obviously. Klay Thompson's a 97. Joe Harris is a 94, JJ Redick's a 90, and Buddy Hield's a 90. And Seth Curry finished in the top 3 in shooting percentage last season. And he's not in the top 5 of shooters in NBA 2K? Like, something's wrong there. Maybe it's the amount of shots he took or something. They take that into factor, but I think he's got to be an A. I think you have to have him as an A. Right? That's what I would think, but that's just me. I would have him as a 90% shooter. Not 90%, but a 90 overall 3-point shooter. Seth Curry. So, a little disappointing there. And then the top 5 duos. LeBron and AD are a 95.5 average overall rating. Kawhi and PG are a 95. KD and Kyrie are a 93.5. And Harden and Westbrook are a 93. So, that's your top 4 dynamic duos. I would guess the Mavs come in around... Can't really do math in my head, but I would guess like an 85, 86 maybe overall. I think Porzingis will be around an 83 because of the injury. Maybe he's at 85 and Luka's an 87, something like that. I think Luka's definitely going to be higher, but they're going to be pretty close. So I love 2K. I can't wait to play with the Mavs on 2K because Seth Curry is so good on that game. Luka's really good now. Porzingis, I haven't gotten to play with a ton online, but I know he can shoot. Now, the Mavs bench is kind of tough to play with. Jalen Brunson's not that great on the game. Maxi Kleber's shot is horrible. Tim Hardaway's actually pretty good. But yeah, big 2K fan. Kind of upset. Actually, not kind of. I'm really upset that, number 1, they didn't release Luka's rating. That was annoying. And number 2, he's not in the top 20 because I think he needs to be an 88, at least. I was thinking 89. That was kind of my guess going into it, but we didn't see that. So that's your 2K ratings. That is your ESPN NBA Power Rankings. Tell me what you agree and disagree with. If you disagree with everything that I disagree with, that would be great, but I know you usually don't. So let me know what I got wrong. Let me know what do you think I'm right about. And that's it. Now remember, if you want a Q&A on this show, if you want me to do a Q&A podcast, you got to review the show, and then you got to leave a comment or a rating with that on Apple Podcast. If you do that, if I get enough of those, I'm going to do a bunch of Q&As here as off-season kind of slows down. So thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for tuning in to the All Things Mavs podcast once again. And don't worry, we'll talk soon.
Got it.